lifelong natural sport bodybuilding. Now we're going to talk a little bit about um, kind of supplements that are good to achieve your goals. Supplements that will increase your natural muscle mass or your natural strength. Supplements that will help you to develop naturally without any type of drug. Um, you know, some of those I've really have used myself, and definitely assist natural trainers, body muscle mass without any. Some of those are like creatine. You know, creatine is a very good supplement that you can use. Creatine is naturally found in kind of red meat, and I'd recommend that you use creatine, especially if you're a natural trainer. And it really helps to kind of volumize the muscle and get water into the muscle, but not so much that you look like a kind of the Pillsbury Doughboy. You know that you volumized, and the volume in the muscle helps to get the nutrients into the muscle much quicker. Helps the blood to get into the muscle. Uh, you know, and creatine really kind of improves your strength. You'll notice if you go into creatine, that you'll definitely become a lot stronger, and it'll help you increase strength. And obviously, the more strength you have when it comes to pushing weights, basically means that you're able to lift heavier weights. And if you're able to lift heavier weights, then it means that you're able to get bigger and stronger. And you know, so stay motivated, stay using kind of creatine. One supplement, glutamine is another one. You know, there were people that were suffering from getting burnt in hospital, and you know, obviously, skin takes a long time to kind of replenish, and muscle even so if it gets burned. And they've fed these patients with glutamine, and glutamine recovered the muscle mass of those burnt patients so much quicker. So it's another very good supplement. Glutamine is kind of one of the amino acids, and it's a peptide, and it really helps to kind of recover muscle mass, or that muscle recovers quicker after the exercise and after doing weights. So glutamine, very good. The third important kind of supplements that I would recommend a natural athlete is whey protein. You know, whey protein is one of those proteins made from milk, and it's kind of a fast absorbing protein. Basically, what it means is it gets into your bloodstream very quickly, and it absorbs quickly, and then it's done its job. Um, so if you can get your hands on good creatine, glutamine, and whey protein, those are kind of your foundational kind of supplements as a natural athlete. You know, I'd be taking creatine, 5 milligrams, a teaspoon, every morning, whether you exercise or not. Just have creatine. Creatine, if it gets mixed into a liquid, it loses its efficiency. So you need to have creatine straight away. If you put creatine in some juice or with your coffee, drink it straight away. Don't mix creatine and go to the gym half an hour later. That creatine is going to won't affect your physique. You need to have creatine 5 grams each morning, whether you exercise or not. On the days that you do train, then you take 5 grams just before, half hour before, with some coffee, and you can have another 5 grams within half hour with a whey protein shake straight after your exercise. That's it for creatine. You don't have to worry about anything else. Don't worry about loading creatine. Don't worry about kind of preloading creatine or anything like that. 5 grams each morning, then 5 grams half hour before you exercise, and 5 grams with the whey protein. So 5 grams with coffee half hour before you exercise, and within a half hour after you finish exercise, 5 grams with a whey protein shake. That's creatine. Okay, glutamine you'll get from your whey protein. If you get a good whey protein shake, you'll get good um, glutamine from that. Glutamine is one of the most powerful kind of aminos, because there are people that got burnt during war, and their muscle and their skin have burnt off completely. And what happened was when they took creatine, the glutamine, the glutamine actually made the muscle kind of reappear. They started developing muscle or healing the tissue, and they got their muscle started to develop again. And that's what glutamine can do. And glutamine is try and get separate glutamine if possible, and take that just before exercise and just after exercise. And but definitely try and at least have glutamine, whether it's in a whey protein shake or any of your supplements. Very, very important. Whey protein, has its pros, and the only really kind of good thing about whey protein is it absorbs very quickly. So it's really cool to use just before gym, so that when you go to gym, you should have a little bit of protein in your stomach before you go to gym. And by that I don't mean like a whole chicken. Kind of have like just a little bit of protein in your blood. And the reason for that is the muscle, instead of breaking down muscle straight away, will start using that protein that's in your stomach to kind of it'll absorb that protein first. So you spare muscle tissue, which is very important. And then obviously straight after exercise, very important, within a half hour you must have some sort of protein, like a whey protein, and try and stick to the whey protein because it's much quicker to absorb. But having said that, those are the three main supplements: creatine, glutamine, and whey protein. If those aren't on your shelf, then you're wasting your time as a natural athlete. The fourth one I'd probably say is go for some sort of protein that has egg albumin, some form of kind of chicken or meat protein in there. Um, a protein that has that's kind of much harder to digest, will stay in your bloodstream longer. Those kind of proteins you should have at night, especially if you can get it in a tub form, or if you can't, just eat eggs, boiled eggs, canned tuna, maybe even a chicken breast or piece of fish before you go to bed. And that protein will stay much longer in your stomach, and your body takes much longer to digest, so it gives your body more time to actually pull the proteins out of that food. Don't have a whey protein before you go to sleep. It's not going to help. Whey protein is going to be in and out of your bloodstream within 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. So don't have a whey protein just before you get to bed. Rather have a proper protein, or a protein shake that has egg, beef, could have whey as well, but more kind of soluble, more harder digesting protein, because your body is going to be recovering, it's going to be needing that protein for a few hours during that sleep process. So just to summarize, creatine, 5 grams every single day. Okay. Before you exercise, creatine, you can have a mixture. You can have a little bit of creatine, put some coffee, 2 teaspoons of coffee, and maybe 1 scoop of whey. That's your pre-workout. Done. Half an hour before you exercise. After you exercise, drop the coffee, another 5 grams of creatine, whey protein shake. Okay, 2 scoops, whatever you know. Have that half an hour after the exercise. Then obviously have your main meal hour later, hour and a half later. And before you sleep, very importantly, always have a protein that is kind of going to sit in your gut for at least a few hours, because that will help your body to kind of absorb that protein, and for those few hours. While you're sleeping, your body's going to recover every single hour. Don't have whey protein before you go to bed, because that whey protein will only last about half an hour in your system, and you're actually going to be hungry. Your body's going to be hungry during the night. So always try and have, my rule is always like up to about 7:30, 8 o'clock, dinner done. No later than 8 o'clock, dinner. So that can be maybe a big potato, salad, some olive oil, chicken breast, salmon, fish, piece of steak, sweet potatoes, vegetables, any type of really nutritious food. Then before you get to sleep, you can have maybe a small banana if you have a sweet tooth, a bit of a yogurt, and some form of protein that's going to sit in your stomach, like For instance, I used to do six to eight egg whites, and just boil the eggs and just throw the yellows away. Maybe even have one yellow, and then pop the have the egg whites, or just scramble them. If you fry them, just use a little bit of non-stick spray. Don't use olive oil. Don't use butters. Don't use margarines. Stay away from full cream milks. Stay away from bread. Stay away from things that are. Always ask yourself if you, whatever food is in front of you, did it come out of the God's green earth? Did it come out of the ocean? Did it fall off a tree? You're trying to get the food, the most natural kind of sources. If it's something sitting on the shelf at Tesco and that's been processed and has half the alphabet in it, stay away from that kind of stuff. Beans are good as well, but try and stay away from beans that are kind of got too many additives inside. So red beans, black beans, white beans, any of those beans, as long as they don't have too much sugar or kind of, artificial things inside of it. And so keep your nutrition as healthy as possible, as natural as possible. And in terms of limitations of food, if you're eating natural food, there aren't any limits. Eat as much food as possible. Okay. If you find that you're a hard gainer and you can't pick up weight as much as you try, go and buy yourself 2 liters of ice cream. This is what we used to do. 2 liters of ice cream, right? And you have those 2 liters within 2 days. So you can have 2 liters, 2 liters, 2 liters. That doesn't cost much, but have the ice cream in the morning, take a few tablespoons, put it in a blender, put some oats in, a banana, a whey protein shake, a bit of honey, blend. Get those calories in you, even if they are sugary calories. Because if you're training hard enough and you're lifting basic compound weights, deadlifts, barbell curls, bench press, and you're lifting hard enough, you need to get calories. Our mistake was often we didn't get enough calories. We were getting enough food, we were getting enough protein, enough kind of good fats, carbohydrates, but not enough calories. You need a certain amount of calories. In fact, you need more calories than what you're burning. So let's say your calorie intake for you to maintain your muscle is at this level, but to grow muscle, you're going to need calories up to here. So don't have to count your calories. Check the scale every few days. Write down what your weight is. And if it goes on for week, and you're training heavy, you're eating a lot of good foods, and you're not gaining weight, you need to increase calories. So you need to get good, kind of really, I'd say, fatty, sweet calories. Don't go for like fat cuts of meat or the fat pork. Rather go for ice creams. They can, ice cream's got a lot of milk protein as well naturally in it. But have those kind of stuff early in the morning before 12 o'clock or so. After you exercise, if you trained hard enough, we used to have, I remember eating like a whole chocolate, literally loaf, or a whole tub of ice cream straight after gym. If you've trained hard enough, treat yourself within a certain time period. And when I say train hard, that you sweated yourself out, you're sweaty, you lifted heavy weights, have those calories straight after, within 1 hour of your exercise. Because your body's got this amazing ability, it's going to absorb all those nutrients, even the calories that are not so good, and it will convert that into muscle. And because you're giving yourself enough calories to actually grow. And so don't forget that kind of little tricks, those little kind of things will help you to kind of put on muscle naturally. And if you're going to go, you need to know the science of the sport, especially if you're going to do it without drugs. You're following people on Instagram and all these so-called athletes that are so full of chemicals. They're like walking chemical factories, and they can only speak for themselves from the drugs, and yes, there's certain things that you've got to lift heavy weights, that you've got to be consistent, that you've got to eat healthy. Those 3 things you can't kind of take away from what you need to do. But if you're going to learn to put on muscle naturally, without any type of drug, then you got to learn from people that have got to a certain level naturally, without any drugs. So yeah, I hope these tips have kind of helped you, and you look buy yourself a few liters of ice cream, and in the morning you have two big scoops with your breakfast, or make a protein shake. On the hard exercise days, again, two big scoops. If you're not training on the day, don't have ice cream after 12 midday, okay? Because if you keep having those ice cream, you're just going to get a bit of fat. You're going to get fat basically. If you're really skinny, don't worry about getting a bit of fat, because that fat, that extra weight, will enable you to actually pick up more muscle. It adds to your bench press. Um, you have, the more weight you have behind you doing a bench press, the more power you're going to have. Generally speaking, that's kind of like the science of momentum. And if two big athletes are coming in, and one guy's really big, and the other guy's not so big, and they collide, who's going to push over the other one? Generally speaking, the heavier one is going to knock the other one over. Okay, and exactly the same gym. When you're pushing weights, if you've got more weight in your arms, you're going to have more power to actually push the weight. Um, so weight is important to be stronger, and if you're stronger, you're going to build more muscle, and it's going to build, and it becomes a kind of a momentous thing, where you just start growing, and you start getting bigger, you start getting stronger, and you start enjoying gym a lot more, and you do that without drugs. So, yeah, raw sports, lifelong natural sport, bodybuilding. No drugs, no steroids, no PEDs, no TRTs, no diuretics, no GH. Never, 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 never. Thanks for checking all sports. Later.